Hi everybody, welcome to the dungeon. My name is Robin and today is Flameworking 102.90 Prismatic Cane. There's something so magical about how primary colors can become secondary colors when you mix them together, with paint when you're a kid, and it's still fascinating to me today. Glass colors in general just don't work like paint, so you have to be very meticulous on how you use them if you want to create new colors. And instead of blending colors together, which never has really worked for me, I love to layer transparents on top of each other. To get this prismatic effect, I finally found the right combination of blue, yellow, and red that will give me just the right secondary hues. You'll have to let me know what you think, and I hope you all enjoy this one. And as always, I hope you're all doing safe and well out there. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time in the dungeon. All right, we're going to start this cane out with the Aqua Blue Dark. And this color is a very sensitive color in the flame, so you really want to make sure that before you use it, you are in the right flame setting so it doesn't rash out really bad. This color is notorious for rashing out and boiling in the flame, so you want to be super careful using it. With my flame, I have to use it way in the back of the flame, and it really takes a long time for me to melt it all down and just to ensure that it's not going to get too crazy on me. And I'll do the same thing with the I'll start to smooth it down in the flame very gently with my graphite tool, and it will just help me to get a smoother surface a little quicker than heating the whole thing up and hoping that it doesn't boil. But what I do need to do is flatten one side of it, and because I have to hold it in the flame, and I held it a little too close to the heat of the flame, I did get a little rash starting. It's not horrible, but it is in there. Anyway, on top of this color, the second transparent I'm going to use it's not in the yellow category. It's called Kelp, and this is just such a magical color, and it's easy to use, and it brings the right kind of warmth, and has kind of just a slight hint of green to it that I think helps out in the overall effect. And I'm going to add about the same amount of that color to the blue, and I'm just going to smooth that out. This is like such an easy color to work with. Unlike the next color. This is the Gold Ruby. This is also a sensitive color in your flame, so you want to make sure that you're in a nice neutral flame so it doesn't, maybe a hair more oxygen, but you don't want it to burn off, and that's when Gold Ruby gets like black on the surface. It's almost impossible to get rid of. You have to kind of pull it away with tweezers and be real careful that it doesn't spread. Anyway, so I know some of these colors are difficult to use, but I'm just working them very gently in the back of the flame, and I'm not trying to really overheat them, especially the blue. So now that I have the colors on here, and I have about the same amount of each color, they're still off center on my mandrel here because the mandrel is only attached to the blue. So what I want to do is pull these colors together as much as I can, with the help from the marvering pad. I want to pull them together so I can at least get my punty on there so everything is back on center again. Then I can pull my other punty out and everything will be easier. Now what I want to do is just spend a little time heating, and I want to pull all of those colors together so I can pull the tip out as well. But first I want to add some stripes, and I'm going to use that marble mold to help me, to help kind of shape it and roll it out a little bit. And that smooths down most of the color enough to where I can kind of start to pull it together with my tweezers. Again, I'm not looking to get it like super hot and liquidy. I'm just trying to get it just hot enough to where I can do this move and then continue. Now it does leave these little valleys where each color is meeting. So what I can do here is just fill those lines in with the white stringer. And this is the pre-made stringer, the 2mm stringer, and it works out great for lines in your cane work, because when you go to pull the cane out, they don't become, you know, too thin. So I'm going to add 3 stripes and then a couple more in between the wider areas. And then I want to spend some time to heat and make sure that each one of those canes is cinched down to the bottom and touching the punty rod. That will ensure that they stay on there as you pull them out. And the rest here is just simple heating, but slow heating. You know, I'll go and kind of roll this out. Sometimes these lines may not, they might wiggle around a little bit here, may not end up looking straight, but when you go to pull them out, everything will straighten out. So don't worry if your lines get a little funny looking here. Okay, so we're going to pull this tip out one more time so we have that nice area to put our final punty on. And a little bit more shaping. And no, this is not like a perfectly smooth round when I go to punty it up, because I'm real shy on overheating this package here. All right, I'm going to add my punty and cinch it down on my torch head. That always makes me feel good when I do that, so it's nice and secure to the punty. And now is when I need to really kind of start pouring the heat on, although I am still in the very back of my flame. Because things were getting so hot, you can see that blue glass rashing out and boiling every time it hits that flame. So I face it head on and kind of try to boil as much away as possible before I pull my cane out. You do see a slight rashing in the final shots, but it's almost impossible to see with the naked eye. So now that I pulled my cane out, I'm going to cut it down and we can go ahead and use that in our bead. So I'm going to start this out with a base coating of the bubblegum pink, one of my favorite colors. I just absolutely adore this color. And we're going to add it as thinly as possible to the mandrel. So all I have of this color is like a maybe 3 to 4 millimeter rod, and I'm just going to very gently wrap it up all the way down my mandrel, about 1.5 inches or so. I'm looking for a nice big bead to showcase this cane on. Now I want to make sure also that my mandrel is nice and hot as the glass goes on it, so I don't get any bubbles. It took me a long time to figure out this whole process. So, you know, this bead will look great if it's shorter than this, if it's round, if it's, you know, whatever shape you want it to be. It can be a spacer bead if you want. It's just fun to use the cane and to get that prismatic effect. All right, so like I was saying, it took me a long time to get this whole beginning shape figured out and how to get my bead shaped quickly. It used to take me like 20 minutes to shape my base bead, and then I would continue from there. And as you do, you are also learning yourself in your brain. Things are also working its way out, you know, all these techniques and things. And you're probably thinking about it when you're not even flame working. Okay, let's add this cane now that we have a nice cool surface to work on. I do want to heat up my bead before I add the cane though. And I'm going to start out with a coil and then go right into a real tight snake pattern and then back into a coil. when I use this cane, I am right next to the flame. I'm just in the area of the flame where the cane starts to move. And as I am moving the cane, I'm also moving the bead. So what I'm going to do here is just build up this pattern. I'm not going to overlap anything just yet. I'm just going to start out with coils and real tight kind of wiggles. And that's going to help to create a really interesting, dynamic pattern at the end. I also find that working with a thicker cane is very helpful. This cane is about the same size as one of the store-bought or pre-made white stringers. It's about 2 millimeters. I find anything thinner than that to be a little bit more difficult to work with, but it also depends on what you're doing. And for this kind of cane, it's perfect to have a nice thick cane to work with, because then you really see a lot more of the color shifting when you're looking at it. All right, so I'm going to continue to add this pattern all the way around until everything is nice and full, and I have a full layer of color here. I'll add a little bit around the edges too. Yeah, and if I have any high spots, I'll always press those down just a little bit. Remember, we did not coat the cane in clear, so there's always still the possibility of the blue or the gold ruby acting up on you. So just like I did at the whole beginning of this process, I have a smaller flame now, but I'm working out in the end of that smaller flame. So whether it's a big flame or a little flame, I'm trying to work the glass as far out as I can, without going like too slow. And I thought this whole segment would be nice to see in real time. Sometimes when I have cane work like this sped up, you can't even see anything. All of a sudden it's just on there. All right, so this is our first layer. I'm just going to shape up that edge there. And now what I want to do is add my second layer before anything has time to melt down. And this gives me time to not only cover any of the areas where I can see the base color, but this also gives even more of a dimensional effect on top of having the cane on top of itself. Because of all the transparent happening in there, you really see through all of these layers. And with this final cane, it's not going to be real tight. It's a more of a spread out pattern, not touching itself or anything. And you don't want a whole bunch of it. Just a little bit here and there really makes a great effect. And as I add this cane, I'm also not twisting real tight. It's a very lazy twist back and forth. All right, that looks just about, I think that's it. All right. So now it's the process of starting to coax very gently all of this glass down. You don't want to just blast this in the heat after all the time that you put into it. So this whole process of smoothing down the cane is going to also take time. So be patient and work the glass out as far as you can, while still being able to melt it in the back of the flame. And keep it moving. Don't just hold the glass in one area of the flame, because that's almost sure to to upset that aqua dark. I really wish they made that color easier to work. All right, so what's helping me out here to coax everything down is by marvering and using the graphite paddles, because you can just heat the surface and get it nice and warm, and then push it down. And even though you're only pushing it down a little bit at a time, you will get there. You will get to that nice smooth surface in time. So there's something that I've always found so magical about being able to lay transparent colors on top of each other to get a third color. And I've been looking for this specific combination of primary colors, you know, to make the secondary colors and all three colors to work right together. And I'm so excited to bring this to you. I almost called this the unicorn cane. Because I was like, oh my gosh, it's so magical, like a unicorn, but there's no sparkles in it, so I couldn't really go that far. So prismatic cane it is. So I just showed you a shot of the bead, and even though I've been on this for a good 5 minutes, it's still not smooth. And you can always tell if it's smooth or not by, you know, you can see it, you know, in the glare of the lights. So I'm going to take even more time and more patience to just keep smoothing this out until I get everything as smooth as possible. You can, you know, coat this with clear and it be bumpy. You'll probably get bubbles. And I don't want bubbles in this one. I really just want you to be able to see the cane itself. We're getting real close here. I can tell because I'm working on the edges now. So this is when you want to do all your final shaping before you put any clear on top, regardless of what shape it is, especially on your edges. I always try to keep my edges in check after every step along the way. And here is how it looks. I think it looks unbelievable, you guys. I'm so geeked out with this. And you could leave it just like that, and I'm sure it would look great. But you know me, I've got to coat it in some clear just to see that three-dimensionality pop out and everything kind of like, you know, start moving a little bit, the movement. All right, so when I coat this, the base bead is as cool as I can get it, and I'm coating it with nice hot glass. I do like to use the Effectri Super Clear. It's the best clear I have found for the price. I pretty much, once I started using this clear, I haven't tried any others. So use whatever clear you like the most to coat your bead in. And then here I'm just going to pull my edges in as close as I can onto the bead itself, trying not to hit the mandrel, and then just kind of round it out. And here it's all about getting that clear glass to flatten out before the heat really soaks into your color layer. And that's why I like to paddle the clear down before I really introduce more heat into it, because it allows that clear glass to form an even coating around your pattern, so you don't get any kind of distortion in your pattern. All right, things are looking good. I'm just finishing up here on the edges, and now that everything's coated in clear, it's smooth sailing from here on out. You know, I always thought it was just, it's a magical thing to me. I know I say that word a lot, but it really is just watching and playing with, like, mixing paint. You know, mix the blue with the red, you get purple, and so on and so on. But that's just not the case with glass color, at least that I have found. Anytime I have tried to blend two colors together, like a red and a yellow, it's just a blend, you know, it's not really blended together to create a smooth third new color. So when I use transparents, and I am obsessed with transparents, you guys, for years I used nothing but transparents, black and white, just to really get a good idea of how those colors work together. And for glass, you really have to do a layering process in order to get those colors to create a different color. You can use 2 transparents. Like here I'm using 3. So these 3 transparent colors are going to create the full spectrum. We're going to get the yellows, we're going to get we're going to get the oranges, the greens, and the violets in here. It just looks so cool. So for me, this is painting, I guess, color mixing, painting with transparent colors. This is how I, tend to deal with that situation. Sometimes you get great colors and all new colors by adding transparents on top of different opaque colors. Like one of my favorites, you can get a beautiful hot pink with a dark pink opaque with the gold ruby on top. Ooh, that's an amazing color. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and finish shaping all of this up. Our second layer is on there, and I just want to make sure everything is nice and smooth, and I'm happy with it. So here at the end this is the time to do your final shaping and edge work. And here I'm just going to finish heating the center of the bead, making sure that I like what I see, and then I'll spend a few minutes just to kind of let it settle down, not get too cool but not get too hot, a nice annealing temperature. And here we have our final product, our prismatic cane bead. I hope you all enjoy. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time in the dungeon.